at that point, I was able to access every hathway router in the country. And
dark mode or light mode?
dark mode, no question. Paragliding is all about like landing and taking off. There's mostly nothing that could go wrong during a flight, and if it goes wrong, that basically, I had like couple of failures. I'll just say couple. I will not say the exact number.
Windows or Linux?
Linux.
Are you interested in gaming?
Not at all. Not at all.
So, are your Indian parents still satisfied and proud of you, or the Sharma ji ka beta ki comparison still exist?
One thing you loved about VIT?
CSI.
When we build, it matters. Boom, we nailed it.
Hi everybody, welcome to CSI Stdio, a podcast where we basically hang out with cool people from the world of technology and get to know about their journey. I'm Brinda.
And I'm Amisha.
And we will be your hosts for the day. So Amisha, are you nervous considering that we're venturing into the podcast territory for the first time?
A little. But you know what? Let's just start with the questions that podcasters usually ask, such as, how are you, Brinda? How was your day? Or are we just gonna act like we didn't spend the last 3 hours together trying to figure this whole setup and like this is the first time we're seeing each other today?
We can't let our audience know that. I already ticked off 3 things from my list, and after we talk to our guest today, I'm gonna tick off another one.
Right. Speaking of our guest, I'll do the honors of introducing them. We have among us Palash Golecha, a cybersecurity expert who also happens to be an alumni from VIT and has helped co-found Dyte, a budding startup that provides an easy-to-use video conferencing SDK for both personal and enterprise needs.
So, without any further ado, let's call our guest to join us.
Hi Palash, it's great to have you here with us. How's life? We've heard that you recently shifted to Bangalore. How has the Bangalore weather been treating you?
Who told you I shifted to Bangalore? Hi, I'm Palash, and nice to meet all of you. Bangalore weather is always good, and so is the traffic. Yeah, but yeah, I don't go out of the house, so that traffic is manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Some plus points of the pandemic, I guess.
Yeah. Pandemic has been like amazing for me. I shouldn't say this, but yeah.
Where are you originally from? Like, if you just shifted to Bangalore?
I'm from Rajasthan, like a small town in Rajasthan, near Jodhpur. Might know Jodhpur. Yeah.
So, for our viewers who don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you work, which is Dyte, and what exactly you do?
Sure. So, as most of your viewers, I'm a VIT graduate, like a VIT student. I came to VIT in 2016. I'm a 2020 graduate, and I was part of CSI. And like after college, I did not sit for placements. More like I was not allowed to sit for placements. I had like a couple of years. I'll just say couple. I will not say the exact number, but yeah. So after leaving campus, I applied. So I was always interested in security, and after leaving campus, I applied for a security company called CloudSec, and I did internship there, and then I joined there full time. And midway during the pandemic, everybody was using video calls, and we were using video calls all the time. And so 2 of my friends, also from CSI, Abhishek and Kushagra, they were seniors. So we came together and started Dyte. We'll talk about Dyte like in detail more, but essentially we are a video audio SDK provider. So if you've heard about Twilio and Agora, in the same space, we provide APIs for developers to integrate audio, video in your own apps. So November of 2020, we started that, and yeah, it's been a ride, and yeah, that's about it.
We think what you've done with Dyte is really impressive. And for those of you who don't know, Dyte gave the highest CTC out of all the companies in VIT in the year 2021 during the placements.
Yeah, that was a lot of publicity for us, unwanted publicity, if I could say. All the colleges started reaching out and hire from our college. Yeah.
So, okay.
But yeah, we selected about 5 people from VIT. A couple of them from CSI, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, for our viewers who aren't that well acquainted with the placement process because they may be freshers, so could you tell us like what a CTC is and how the placement thing works a bit?
So CTC is basically cost to the company, the total amount we as a company, by hiring someone, how much we do give to someone. So it includes all kinds of compensation, cash, stocks, and other bonuses as well. So for example, the 75 figure that has been like floating around, most of it was stocks or ESOPs. So stocks are like of two types. If you're in a publicly traded company, you will get RSUs, and in a startup, you'll get like a ESOP, employee stock options. So yeah, most of it was ESOPs, and then there'll be like a bonus, and then there'll be a base cash component. Yeah. So the way placement works in VIT is, do you want me to talk about like the bureaucratic process of how we like approach VIT and all of that, or just like how we hired from VIT?
Anything you'd like to tell us?
Yeah. So again, we knew we wanted few people from VIT, and VIT always had like a good talent tech pool. So when we applied, yeah, and we were always sure that we would want to like take placement from the super dream category, and so we opened up the forms, and about I think 1,000 plus people applied, and we were about like 10-15 people, and so I think we went for like a 2-step process, like a formal yeah. So we developed challenges in different languages and framework. So there was like a mobile challenge, there's a full stack challenge, and we asked people to submit. We gave it, I'm not sure how much time did we give, but yeah, so that helped us filter down the list by like 10%. So only about 10% people went to the next round, and then we took personal interviews. Again, couple of people we had to take multiple interviews, but yeah, so all of this was done in a very short span of time. After the challenge, like the whole hiring was completed in like a couple of days. Yeah.
That's actually pretty impressive. Do you find it a bit ironic on, how you earlier told us that you didn't sit for placements and now you're giving the highest CTC?
Yeah, it is. So this particular rule where students who have arrears, like standing arrears, like active arrears, are not allowed to sit, did not make a sense to me. So even the other co-founder, Abhishek, he has always been like a academically well-doing kid. He like a 9 CGPA plus, but just before the placement seasons, like the semester before that, he got a F in some of the subject, and yeah, he missed out on all the good companies. So I don't think that is fair. But yeah, I do appreciate, like I acknowledge the irony in it. Yeah.
So how does it feel in general to offer the highest CTC to the college you graduated from? Because it's a big achievement, right? Like as soon as you graduated from there, you give the highest CTC the next year in placements.
Yeah, I don't know what to feel about it, but kind of mixed feelings, because I honestly did not want to announce such like a like a huge number and get all the unwanted media attention. But yeah, it does feel good to like go back into the college and from the other side and offer jobs to everyone. Yeah.
That's great.
So,
And the fact that it has only like took me like a year just adds to it. I'm not too much change in 1 year for me. Yeah.
why don't you tell us a bit about your journey with Dyte? Like, how did the idea pop up in your head? How did you guys decide to go ahead with it? And how did you
Yeah,
convert
sure.
the idea into reality?
Sure. So let me introduce like my co-founders first, then I'll like talk about the story. So there's Kushagra and there's Abhishek. Both of them are 2018 graduates, and they were both like tech VPs at that time at CSI. So when I joined in, these guys were like the board, the CSI board at that time, and they always mentored me and guided me. Even and we've been working together since my first year. So uh, the year I joined CSI, like I think the recruitment's completed in January. Abhishek reached out to me and said, I'm working on a startup when I was in my first year, and would you like to work with me? So in the first couple of months of joining itself, me, Abhishek, Kushagra started working on a home automation IoT company. We all stayed back at Abhishek's house in Faridabad for the whole summer vacation, like a month and a half, and we developed. It never like came to market, and we could not find anything about it like a USP, if you could say. So we and us all us being software developers, IoT was not like our home ground. So we shelled off that project, but the fact that is we have been working together ever since. So there was this app again in college. Again, not sure. It's called VIT. VIT. You might have VIT Go at this time, right? Is there like a student app allowing you to see all the schedules and attendance and?
I mean, we ended up using this app provided by VIT itself called VIT.
Yeah. So back in the day, we didn't have an app, and so me and Kushagra were working on like we had our own third party, like we made our own third party app. So yeah, just like highlighting the fact that we've been always working together. So and Abhishek always every other month he comes to me with like this new idea, and yeah. So most of them very uninteresting, but so in the middle of the pandemic, uh, we're all working from home and all sitting in the video calls all day, and we come across this company. It's a virtual events provider, and it recently raised a lot of money. And then we were like, all three of us were just browsing the website and going through the product, and we were like, we can build a better version of this in a month. And yeah, so that's what we started with. We started with building a virtual events, something like Zadal, Airmeet, if you're, I wouldn't name the exact company, but yeah. So the way we started this was we always had in mind that we have to build the core video stack on our own because we love building, like solving hard technical problems. So, and videos, like owning that video stack for us was very important in maintaining that control over quality and performance. So day one, we started out like just building the media engine, and like a month into it, we had like a working video call sort of product. Okay, but it was always intended to become like a live streaming one-to-end product, something like Airmeet Shuttle. But then uh, we had so I think we were taking a few investor calls, and we were doing like market research, and uh, Abhishek had this idea of plugins. So video calls were becoming, all of us were having the official our official jobs on the side. So we were all attending video calls all day, okay, and that was becoming monotonous. So we thought we could add plugins to it and add interactivity within the video call. So instead of what our usual workflow of a video call was that someone would start a call and share screen immediately, and basically everybody would just see the screen. So we thought this could be improved. Instead of just one person sharing a screen, taking a note, or writing code and everybody seeing, we could improve this experience by making it collaborative, having the app come inside the video call itself. Everything from Figma to like a code editor to a whiteboard within the video call. So that is what we started building then. And like just a month into our development, we submitted our Y Combinator application. And at that time, we had like barely a POC, a very basic page of a video call, but with the idea of plugins there, like in there. So our applications of YC, our YC application was all about plugins, about adding interactivity and becoming the Zoom for India, rather than becoming like a SDK provider, but like a Zoom for India with this added interactivity. And yeah, we got into YC, and that kickstarted a lot of things. So before that, we were just like 4 kids, trying to build something, and suddenly now we're funded. And Y Combinator, if you're not aware, is the biggest accelerator for early stage startups. So that basically made this project into a company. Okay, and yeah, so Y Combinator was amazing. And if had there not been COVID, so Y Combinator usually the program involves all the founders flying to the Bay Area in their offices, and they run a cohort where they teach you about how to tackle like the basic everything about running a startup and help. So everybody, all of us, not like every company got assigned a mentor, and for us it was Michael Siebel. He was the co-founder of Twitch. So he had worked in the video domain and had experience about this, and so he was the perfect mentor for us. So yeah, midway through YC, we launched Dyte as a video calling product like Zoom. And what the funny thing that happened was we opened an invite on our website for our plugin SDK. So our whole idea was about adding interactivity to an application, to the video calling application. So we built an SDK for the plugins. Okay. But in that plugin SDK form, we got a lot of inbound interest for the core video product. And that is when we started realizing and researching the SDK market. And we realized all the competitors out there, we could improve on them like tenfold, the developer experience. And so immediately we saw a big market there. This is something that we can do very easily and improve on the experience of integrating video on our own app. So what happened was those companies who contacted us through the contact form, during the first call itself, we said we had an SDK ready. And all of these companies, so some of these companies were like 100 million plus company. So in our mind, what the cycle was that they'll come back, like they'll take a month and evaluate and everything. But what happened was they said like in the same day itself, let's get started today. And we were basically a product by then. So me, Abhishek, Kushagar, Rishit, and till that time, Rohan has also joined. So we all 5 like sat together for a hackathon weekend, and it was like a Friday night. So the next 48 hours, none of us slept, and basically ported that Zoom product into like a SDK that developers could integrate on their own app. So yeah, within the span of 2 days, we became like an SDK player, and that's like the origins of Dyte.
So that's pretty impressive actually. And since Dyte was founded when we were still reeling in from a pandemic, what do you think Dyte had in its working that separated Dyte from just any other pandemic startup?
Okay, so since the pandemic, the video, every application like sort of had like a video boom. uh, all the edtech providers started scaling up because there were no schools and classes, and health, like doctors, and that all moved to telehealth. So the industry as a whole got a very big push. And so for us, the market was like ready for something like this. And when we saw the existing implementation out there, they were very hard to get it right. So basically, if I just talk about what is special about Dyte right now, is the developer experience, the integration experience. If you take any of our competitor, and you'll realize that they are very low level, they are granular. Like you'll have to configure stuff as what network bitrate to set and what video codec to set. As an application developer, I shouldn't like ever have to deal with it. Like all these lower level parameters. It is fine if you're building another video calling application, but for 90% of the cases, a good default set configuration would work. So that's what we did. We provided APIs that are not very low level, but yet customizable. And so developers can basically, we have seen companies go live like from in like couple of days into production with our SDK, versus I can guarantee you say that like a competitor integration would take at least like a month or a couple of weeks to get started. So yeah, that is what was our USP, the whole developer experience, and how we took the pain away from them and basically abstracted all the complex network and media handling.
So, you spoke a lot about your time at VIT and how you interacted with your seniors to make products and projects. So, what do you think about the tech environment at VIT itself? Like, do you think the class, like, did attending classes help at all, or just the environment in VIT in general, did it help you become the person you are in terms of the technology aspect?
Okay, so yeah, obviously VIT made me the who I am right now, but I wouldn't contribute, like I wouldn't put the, like I wouldn't acknowledge the academic side of it, because the academic side of it didn't help me at all. I did not attend classes, so I used to keep my attendance bare minimum. And yeah, even in the last semester, when I mentioned my areas, most of it was just not attending classes. And so, yeah, but like the whole student culture and all the tech chapters, the hackathons, the projects, so all that aspect of VIT is amazing. That basically, I think, is even better than certain IITs out there. And basically, yeah. So all these, I'm not sure. Again, you don't have seniors that, right? Like a senior batch.
We have a board right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. So again, all of their understandings and their learnings and the whole, I basically learned a lot from Kushagra throughout college as well. And yeah, so, and hackathons, I used to love hackathons in my second year, third year. And that, again, I'm not of the same opinion right now, but yeah, definitely at that time, they helped me a lot. Just quickly bootstrapping a product from an idea to like an actual product in 48 hours. Yeah.
I think we all can relate with the whole seniors giving us advice, because even with our situation right now, even after not meeting any of them, we are still learning every day something or the other from our seniors, our board, and our ex board. So that's actually, I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, this kind of collaborative learning from your own peers is what makes VIT special, because there's a lot of students, and you'll find students with all different kinds of skills and aptitudes, and yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah, so do you have any college stories that you would like to share for the audience who have been stuck at home for the past 2 years?
Okay, what kind of stories?
It can be anything.
So I'll tell you a story about like Rishit and me. And so Rishit, for all of you who don't know, he's probably a senior of you, another CSI. So when he was in first year and we were at board, we started again being the hacker mindset people we are. We started reverse, and then at that time VIT released their this official application. Okay, and so again we started reverse engineering it and trying to look at what kind of routes there are and what kind of what is happening under the scene, under the hood, basically. And Rishit quickly, like I think he just started debugging, and within a span of like a day, he found some routes that gave like access to a lot of student details. And the next thing he knows, he gets a call from SDC. And because he was again using his own account and not using anybody else's VTOP password, so the next day he gets a call from SDC. And so these people, they're very vigilant about some access in their system. So he gets called into the office, and he's a first year student, and then he's being confronted with this. That did you do this, and were you messing around with these? And after like denying initially, he finally agreed to it. And then the director walks in, and then I think they were able to give him some sort of punishment or something. But then he realized he's a first year student. And then he realizes he's a first year ECE student. Okay, he's not even a CS student. So Rishit, I think, switched streams, or maybe, I don't know, but initially he was in ECE. So for them, the fact that a first year ECE student was reverse engineering this app and being able to hack, yeah, that was a fun. So they in fact called him again to do a security analysis of the app. I have a lot of stories around that. I'm not sure if I took Rishit's story because that's official and like there's no, and but my stories are usually they'll take my degree back.
I mean, you could tell us about the fun times also that you had.
Or if you
Yes, I've always been like someone who sees everything from like a security viewpoint. Okay, so every computer, every website, every service I interact with, my mind usually goes into like what is happening in the hood and how can I exploit this. So yeah, every system, and again, in a lot of corporate and university environments, security is not top notch. Everything from the Wi-Fi security to the cameras, and again, not want to take too much into detail, but yeah. So every system I approached, I tried to do something with it. Whether or not I got into it is not for public forum. But apart from that, I left. Like I was living. Everybody has to live in the hostel for the first year, and but then after first year again, after not getting like a good CGPA, of course, I had to move out. So for the next 3 years, I was living outside, and yeah, that aspect of it was fun.
Unless you can
Yeah, in
actually
fact,
say as anything you want to, you can edit it out if you don't want to.
Yeah,
Want us to keep
it's
it
not
under
live
the-
stream. Yeah.
okay, so I'll tell you. So I was living outside, okay, and we had Hathway as the internet provider. And so for the final SEM project, like the capstone project, my project was just hacking into Hathway. And so here's how the final, like the review goes like, okay, I'm presenting my screen and I'm showing all the vulnerabilities in this router box. And the teacher says, what can you do with it? And then I show him he was also connected to the Hathway instance. So I SSH into his router, okay. And basically live, at that point, I was able to access every Hathway router in the country. Like they had like a backdoor in it. So either the manufacturer put a backdoor or the ISP put a backdoor. Someone put a backdoor in it. And yeah, you're able to connect it to it. And if you about router security, if someone able to get in, they're able to read your traffic, at least analyze the patterns, what sites you're visiting. And if there are like HTTP sites, they can modify content and do a lot of damage. So yeah, that teacher, like at the end of the review, like asked me to promise not to switch from a security domain. Yeah, that was fun.
Well, that's actually pretty great. I mean, imagine if somebody has access to all of that information and they use it for the bad things. So, yeah, having people who's that talented in cybersecurity is actually a great thing.
Yeah, cybersecurity, that is why even if I was allowed to sit for placements, I would not have sit for placements. I know, again, the fact that I was not allowed to, I can't, anyway. So yeah, but there are only few security companies in India that are actually good, and CloudSec is one of them.
So, coming to like you as a person, why don't you tell us some of your hobbies and things you like to do in your free time?
Coming back to me, I love traveling, and since this pandemic, I've been traveling constantly, and basically half of the diet development has been done from the mountains. I've been working from home. What I usually do is like pick a spot, like one particular destination, and stay there for a month and just work from there. So yeah, in this pandemic itself, I've been traveling for about 8 to 9 months in total, different cities and different mountains. Yep.
Which is like one of the favorite places that you traveled to recently.
Bir is my favorite. So Bir in Himachal Pradesh, it's just like a small town. It's a paragliding town. So people usually come there for a day and paraglide and leave. But yeah, so I've stayed there for 3 months, and in fact I enrolled in a paragliding school and learned to paraglide, and so that was really fun.
Yeah, I think paragliding is there in almost everyone's bucket list of things that they want to do. So GSK wanted to know if you have suffered any injuries from doing or taking part in these activities.
So I personally haven't suffered anything large, but a couple of friends of mine got multiple fractures, and so the difficulty in paragliding is all about like landing and taking off. Like the flight is there's mostly nothing that could go wrong during a flight, and if it goes wrong, you're basically yeah, there's no recovery in mid-flight. But what happens during takeoff is sometimes the winds are very strong and they pull you into the trees, and sometimes you're not able to get the appropriate amount of lift. And but yeah, so takeoff is still okay. Landing is where it's very difficult. So you have to look for wind directions. You can't land. You have to land against the wind. So if you're trying to land in the same direction as the wind direction, your speed will double. So like it'll increase. The wind will add to your speed. So you have to land against the wind direction, and the whole process of circling around, like you have to pick a spot that I have to land here, and then basically circle around and try to approach it from one particular direction. So that is really hard, and every other time you never make a perfect landing. Either you go into like the fields or crash into like a tree, but usually all of these times have been like I haven't gotten any injury. One time I crashed into like a steel barricade, but yeah.
Well, where have you paraglided from, Billing or Dopi?
Sorry, yeah, Billing. We used to go to Billing and then just paraglide from there.
What have you enjoyed the most from starting your own company?
Okay, so I started this company because I really wanted to tackle really hard problems, and I wanted to get into like a research R&D kind of domain, but that is not how it has turned out to be. I'm doing front end work now, and yeah. So, but what I enjoy is the kind of personal growth it has given to me. Before this, I was like a developer working in a security company, and now the kind of exposure I got, like the kind of people I'm meeting, and the kind of experience, like honestly, running Dyte, because all of us are relatively young and inexperienced, has just been like like a repeated loop of making mistakes and learning from it and growing from it. So yeah, you could just say that the last 1 year has been like a lot of accelerated learning adventures.
Actually, do you have any advice to share for the listeners? Like, we all know
About
a bit
starting
about
a
Palash of today, but what we would like to ask more about is the Palash of 10 years ago. Like, it's a notoriously popular question for interviewers to ask, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? But where was Palash Golecha 10 years ago? And was that Palash accurate in predicting the future?
So I never envisioned myself to like running my own company, and because again that is not something that I always wanted. But security, for example, is something that I've always wanted, like from early childhood. Like the first time I got into programming, I explored the security side of it as well. Yeah, so that was there, and also, uh, I'm not talking about 10 years, but like a 5 year. Talking about how I approach things in college, I always cared about learning versus getting good grades. So I'm not sometimes, all the times prioritized actually developing something, making something, learning something versus doing quizzes or projects. I know that advice wouldn't work for everyone because I ended up leaving VIT with like a less than 7 CGPA. And that usually means you don't sit for top placements and you don't sit for, and yeah, and that kind of advice wouldn't work for everyone. But for me, I always knew that what kind of job I wanted to do and what kind of skills I wanted to learn, and I always concentrated on that. So yeah, even in college, I was freelancing and working in all different sort of projects. There was CSI, there was Rover X, yeah, and every single time I prioritized these over academic learning.
So, how did you get started with tech? Like, did it start before college or during college?
No, it started before college. So in 8th grade or 9th grade, I started learning PHP. And again, that was not part of any curriculum, but I was living in a residential hostel and there was nothing else to do, to be honest. And yes, I picked up a few books and we got restrictive access to some computers, and I used to like study for a week, and then I used to get access to a computer on a weekend and then try to code on it. So, and then very early, I got into security. So I think I was in 9th grade or like at the end of the 9th grade, I started exploring the security of my school website. And yeah, I got into it, and like I got access to the school databases and everything in 9th grade. So that kickstarted like the adrenaline rush that I received there kickstarted my security like experiences and learning.
That's
So
actually
I always approached a lot of technologies from a security perspective. Like I learned web development so I could exploit web apps. I learned web development so I could exploit apps. And the thing about security is you need to be a developer first. And once you know the system very well and you know how developers would have coded this thing, only then you could break it.
So, have you do you used to play CTFs during your college time, or do you still play it if you?
Yeah, I mean, if you see my Twitter bio, it says CTF player, but it's been a while. It's been a while, and I honestly missed it. And but throughout college, not throughout college, but the last couple of years, the last 2 years of college, I used to play CTF every weekend, every weekend. So it was me and another friend of mine, Ashish, and we were just two people, and we and we still did like very well in the, at least in the Indian rankings. And yeah, so CTF was something that, again, taking that whole accelerated learning hackathon concept into security.
Yeah, actually, CSI has their own CTF
Yeah.
too, because CSI.
Yeah, I play with CSI CTF. Again, I haven't played in the last couple of months, but at least like 6 months back, I used to play with them and some random weekend. Whenever I
Yeah,
was
we've been a bit dormant, especially because we've had the final season going on, and I think the last CTF that we played was about 2 months back.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So yeah, that's something I plan to continue again next year. Like find some time for myself on the weekends, and so that I can continue playing CTS. I really enjoy them.
Which
Yeah.
format do you usually play? The Jeopardy style or
Again, I like
attack
both,
and defense?
but attack and defense events are usually not don't happen frequently. There's about like 5-6 events a year.
Yeah. So Palash, how would you recommend a beginner to get started with CTFs?
Like I'll give everyone like an intro to CTF. CTF are basically capture the flag challenges, and where you're given either web apps or applications and asked to break in. You have to exploit that service, get like a secret text from it, the flag, and submit. So it's a team-based game format where like usually it's 24 hours or 48 hours, and everybody's given a bunch of challenges, and you're competing against teams like worldwide and hacking into services, and we basically getting to experience a lot of real world production applications and how they work, and trying to see how you can exploit them. So for beginners to get into this, I think the best the best ways, there's this website called CTF Time, which is basically a calendar for all the upcoming CTFs. So just pick any CTF and try to like go through it. And again, I would always encourage people to approach security from like a programmer's perspective. So if you want to get into security, if you want to get into, so first learn programming first. Right. Yeah.
So, like, let's say a complete noob in programming everything approaches you and tells, I want to become a cybersecurity expert, or like, I want to work in the field of cybersecurity. How would your roadmap for that person be? Like, start with web dev, learn JavaScript, or like, how would you make a roadmap for them?
So there are a bunch of things in security. For example, common exploit patterns and something that has nothing to do with your programming skills, but just general like knowledge about how. Okay, so first step for everyone is to not get into programming, but know exactly what is happening under the hood. So if it's a web application, how does, when I enter google.com, what exactly happens? Like what are the different components in it and what technologies they use, what protocols they are. Understanding what is happening under the hood is very important. And then part of it is understanding the actual logic that might reside in the backend. And so that's where the development experience comes from. But it's all about, so normally any app that you interact with, any web app you interact with, there's a lot of black boxes. There's a lot of that you as a user are not aware of. So security is just understanding what all boxes there are and understanding how they work. And again, I do not encourage anyone to go into that tools route where you, if you've seen those workshops where there's like a Excel 24-hour workshop, or where they teach you how to use a bunch of tools and teach you about, so that is not the route that I would recommend anyone to take, because anybody could use tools, but if you really want to get into this field professionally, you would need to understand like the ins and outs of all systems.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the reasons why so many of us play CTFs to actually learn the thing. But like with that time crunch, I think most of us use a couple of tools. Like I've personally used John the Ripper quite.
No. So I'm not against using the tools, but what I'm saying is, do not learn just to use those tools, but also learn what is happening under the hood.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Brenda, you want to take?
So we see that you're pretty technologically oriented, but I guess with Dyte, you would have to venture into the management side of things as well as an executive. So is that something you like, or how you dealt with it?
Yeah, it's been tough. I'll be honest. I was never really into managing people and managing projects, and that is something I still struggle with. But yeah, I've been exploring this side of me, and I wouldn't say I don't like it, but again, I think I still believe that the core of me is like a tech person, and yeah. So still at Dyte, a lot of like the actual management is done by Kushagra and Abhishek. So Abhishek leads like the product side of it, and Kushagra leads the tech side of it. Yeah. And yeah, I've been taking up responsibilities, but it's been a slow journey. Yeah.
So there are so many ideas and projects that come up in people's minds, and they try to take it forward. But a lot of time, like most of the times, they don't turn into actuality. So what do you think differentiates Dyte from all the other projects? Like why did Dyte work out?
So there are a couple of factors, but yeah, definitely agree that making a project versus making an actual company are two entirely different things. Okay. First of all, you need is a very good team, and you can't do it alone. You can build a code together, an application or alone, but you can't build a business around it. You can build a company around it. So that is where like Abhishek like helped a lot. And again, so our core team was again all from CSI. Rishit joined in like pre-Y Combinator, and then Rohan was I think the second person. And yeah, so having like a very strong team around is very important. And uh, second is basically understanding all the. So when you're concentrated on when you make a product, when you make an app or like a project, uh, versus when you make a company, you have to think about a lot of different, especially the business side of things, and who are you selling it to, and what product do you want to build, and what will be the product market fit for it. And again, not an expert here, but yeah. So one other thing that I would like to add is a lot of people, they lose out like hope quickly, they give up, and which is where again having a team and a support system helps. So yeah, for Dyte it was like a very quick journey. We got from like a product, like a project into like an actual funded company in a month. So yeah, that is there.
So, Ashley, Brenda, and I, we are pretty close, and we've been having a few ideas, but once we actually think about the idea becoming a practical, like when we try to convert that idea into reality, we sometimes realize that these ideas could have been thought of and implemented by big companies, but they haven't done that. So, do you think there is a reason? Like, do you think it's worth venturing forward with that idea?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. So if you even think about Dyte, we are 25 people right now, okay? But for the majority of it, we were less than 15 people. And so if we, like a bunch of college kids and like a 15-member team could build out something, why can't like our global multi-billion dollar competitors, they can just have like a small team to explore this side of the product. Okay, let's explore, something that is very easy to integrate versus which is very configurable. So that's the way it works. Like big companies they have a market and they have a product and they are very slow moving. And it's just not about that. Sometimes the market is like big enough for multiple players and everybody has their own niche they can address. And what usually happens when you're starting out is you always look for like one big idea that nobody has, and which never is the case. Nobody has that like one great idea, the next Facebook idea. It's usually looking at a problem and trying to solve for it. There might be solutions for it, but even if you could like incrementally improve on the competition, you will find like a product and you'll find like a space for your company.
Right. So I think that because every time we talked about it, we thought, this must have been thought about by those big companies. Why have they not implemented it? And yeah, I think that sort of thought just kept coming over us all the time.
Yeah, like for example, Dyte provides plugins, right? So why wouldn't someone like Zoom come up with a similar idea and implement it?
Yeah, so Zoom in fact did. Zoom, after our YC application, like midway through it, they announced Z apps, and which is basically the same thing. And they've done it on a scale that we can't even think about it, partnering with tens of hundreds of companies and uh, making. So we can't compete with that, agreed. But what I'm saying is, okay, first addressing this Zoom thing, Zoom is an SDK, Zoom is a app versus we are an SDK. So not entirely our competition, but you could say the same thing about Agora. Why can't Agora launch plugins? Why can't Agora do like, easy to use APIs? They can, and they will try to venture in that direction. But the thing is, they already have them being a company with a like a product that already works. They will not try to make another product that cannibalizes on their own product. And so it's a difference between a small startup picking up one aspect and doing it well versus like a company having hundreds of products and yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think we can slowly approach the rapid fire.
Yeah, what exactly is that?
So we'll just ask you a couple of questions, and you have to either give a really short answer or a one-word answer. That kind of a situation.
Okay, I have a feeling I wouldn't do too well in that. Yeah.
No, uh, they'll be fairly easy. So I guess let's start.
Sure.
Are you ready? That was your first question.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first question is PC or Mac?
PC, but I'm using a Mac right now. But again, PC. Maybe like Intel or AMD will come up with like better efficient processors. That's something that competes with M1, but PC.
Windows or Linux?
Linux any day.
Android or iOS?
iOS for now.
Have you ever gotten into trouble with red tag runners?
Oh no. Sadly no.
Would you have given up starting a company if you were placed in FANG, or now
It's
that it's
MAANG
MAANG?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not at all. Like I don't, you know, for me, FANG is, I wouldn't take a FANG job at all. Like, I would take, so working in like okay, can I explain and not stick to okay, so for me, all these big corporations, that is one thing that I always had in mind, even when I was like at the end of the fourth year when we were all thinking about what to do next, because you're always a very small cog in the wheel and your contributions don't make a lot of impact. So at least early in the like your career, you would want to move to like a high velocity company versus
What do you actually mean by high velocity company?
uh, so something that is not comfortable, something that is like moving. Okay, so when you say the difference between a FANG versus like a startup, it's the speed at which we move. So I'll tell you about something. So if a large customer of ours requests a feature, okay, we'll do it in a week or we'll do it in a day, versus like a corporate environment where they'll raise a ticket and there'll be like it'll be planned for Q4, like the whole, yeah, the and in all not just FANG but any company where there are like thousands of people, you end up doing something inconsequential. Again, not it's I'm giving a generalized statement, but for most of the people, yes.
One thing you loved about VIT?
CSI.
Do you miss being employed rather than being an employer?
A bit, because there's a lot of stress in this job, but yeah, I would like happily be where I'm right now versus going back to job like a traditional 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Are you interested in gaming?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. So, are your Indian parents still satisfied and proud of you, or does Sharma ji ka beta ki comparison still exist?
They never existed, but yeah, my parents have always been proud of me. Even when I got into even when I got into VIT and not like a right.
That's actually pretty cool.
So, what are your guilty pleasures? What do you like to do to relax?
I'm a beer. I love beer, and that's why I love Bangalore. There's a lot of breweries here.
What is your biggest weakness professionally that you're working on?
Communication skills.
Okay. Your biggest strength as an executive that separates you from everybody else?
The ability to like deep down into a problem rather than like approaching every single thing into like with a very detailed oriented mind.
A spot in Bangalore that you would recommend all of us to go and visit?
Right. Again, I've just moved into Bangalore. I can't say I know all the spots in Bangalore, but Toyota is something that I frequented during college as well.
One tech domain that you hated and never liked working on?
Crypto, blockchain, Web3.
Oh, Web3 is all over.
Yeah, and I hate it. I personally hate it. I still don't get it.
Centralized web.
I don't get it.
Development or competitive coding?
I've not been a strong competitive coder, so development, but I do get the benefits of it.
Okay. What's one song that you're listening to on repeat right now?
I don't know, something by Kendrick or Radiohead.
Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan.
Have you watched Better Call Saul?
I was actually watching it. I watched it with my mom. Jimmy is so good. Okay.
Yeah.
Dark mode or light mode?
Dark mode. No question.
Yeah. There are some people over here who prefer light mode. I do not understand how, but yeah.
Yeah, I get it. So not all of the apps optimize for it correctly. Like text is not legible, the contrast. But if they do it properly, then yeah, dark mode.
So with this, we have come to the end of our talk, and I wish we could continue talking because it was great to get to know you and your whole journey and you as a person. And your whole journey with Dyte has been pretty impressive and a fascinating one.
Yeah, thank you for hosting me. It was fun talking to you all and revisiting all the college memories and CSI memories.
Yes. So we hope we can do this again sometime soon, maybe. Thank you for
Not
taking the time out of your very busy schedule and entertaining
uh,
us.
okay.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for hosting me. Bye.
Bye, Palash. So, Brinda, how was your experience hosting the first podcast?
I think I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot of things. I could also understand more about VIT, a place we've never been to, and see what the world of technology is really like a bit up close and with a first hand experience. What about you? What did you think?
Well, we were hosting a podcast for the first time, entering fresh waters. And, when you're looking at it from that perspective, I think it went well. And considering the fact that we had a pretty talented guest amongst us, and the way he explained everything, the way Palash explained everything, it went really well. I learned a lot, and he gave us a lot of steps. As someone, as most of our viewers might be interested in entering the field of cybersecurity at some point of time, I think they would definitely find a lot from listening to Palash today.
Okay. So, if there's one thing that you could take back from our interaction today, what would it be?
One thing that I've learned from today was that as someone who's interested in the cybersecurity field, Palash has given us a clear roadmap as to how to get started. And I think it's pretty applicable for anybody from beginners to experts. And that was pretty awesome of him because a lot of people often get stuck in the beginning and they don't know where to go ahead, how to proceed, and how it's actually dependent on what you do with your life and not entirely dependent on the faculty or the professors or the classes that you attend. Like, basically, you need to take control of your life. So it's, that is the most important thing. What about you, Brenda? What is the one thing that you took away from today's podcast?
I think the one thing I took away is that you should pick one interest and keep working towards it. Like, you should always, if you're interested in something, go as deep as possible as you can into it, and something good will definitely come out of it.
Yeah, I think that's true actually. And with regards to Palash, that is very evident in the field of cybersecurity. And I think with this we come to the end of our very first episode of CSI Studio.
So make sure you never miss an episode. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and Twitter. Because when we build, it matters.
Boom, we nailed